Howdy folks, welcome back to another lecture. In this lecture I'm going to talk to you guys about musculoskeletal and extremity trauma. So what are the parts of the musculoskeletal system? Well, the musculoskeletal system is composed of bones, muscles, cartilage, tendons, and ligaments. So all of these things in here make up the musculoskeletal system. So let's take a look at the skeleton. The skeleton helps support us against gravity. We have to have something solid so that we don't just turn into a ball of mush. So it helps support us against gravity. It provides movement and protection. The thoracic area, the ribs, for example, provide protection. The skeleton also provides production of red blood cells. So red blood cells are produced by the skeleton. And it's a storage site for calcium and phosphorus, which are two very important minerals for a lot of processes that take place in the body. So let's take a little closer look at some of the bones. Well, here we've got the bones of the skull. This is the skull. So up here we've got our forehead. It's in the front, so we call it the frontal bone. Here on the sides, this is the parietal. This blue one here is temporal. And back here is the occipital. This is the mandible. Mandibular joint is right up in here. The temporomandibular joint's right up there. Yeah, so those are the bones of the skull. So some important areas in the face. The mandible, again, is the fancy word for the jaw. The maxilla are the cheeks right here. The zygoma, or the zygomatic bone, is this back here. And the nasal bones are kind of right up in here. And you'll notice that this is it for the nasal bones. There's actually no bones here. Most of your nose is squishy cartilage. I'll move into the spinal column. So the spinal column, you can see it's actually a column of vertebra, of hard bony discs. And those are separated by soft squishy discs that help with a little bit of the shock absorbing of the spine. So the very top vertebra here, it is a cervical vertebra. So you can see right here it's cervical vertebra, C1 through C7. The very top one is called atlas. This is the one that actually really holds a lot of weight of the head and joins the spinal column into the skull. Axis is the next one down, and that is C2 right here. All the way down to C7, that's basically the end of your neck. The next one is the thoracic vertebra, and those are the ones in your chest, or your thorax, basically. And those are T1 through T12. Down in the lower back, you have the lumbar vertebra, and those are numbered 1 through 5. Down below that, you have the sacrum. Most of the sacral vertebrae are actually fused, and at the very end, you have the coccyx, which is the tailbone, and those are also fused vertebrae. So the thorax, as I mentioned, is your chest cavity, and this is composed of 12 pairs of ribs, and the ribs' job is to protect all of the organs inside. The ribs are held together by the sternum in the front, and then they do attach into the spinal column in the back. Some other terms to sort of know, this top part here is called the manubrium. It's a fancy word. It sounds kind of cool. Manubrium. And then down here would be very familiar with this one. This one's called the xiphoid process. Xiphoid process right there. Over along here, these are the costal angles. That's actually a useful term when you're trying to describe where something is, the costal angle. Next bone's the pelvis. This is a bony ring. So this is actually a complete circle. This is all joined together. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to break a ring, something that's a solid ring, but you know that it really, you can't just break it in one spot. You've got to break it in 2 spots. So just keep that in mind. We're going to talk about musculoskeletal trauma in this lecture, and when you talk about pelvic fractures, they always break in more than one place. So they are 2 bones that are each made of 3 fused bones. You've got this area here. You've got the symphysis pubis here with the or sorry, the symphysis pubis is here. This is the ischium. This up here is the ilium, or the iliac crest is kind of right there, and that's the bony part that sticks out. So the bones are the ilium, the ischium, and the pubis. So the pubis is right in there. So lower extremities. So they start from the top of the leg, the thigh, which is also known as the femur. Here you have, so this is actually backwards. This is the backwards leg. This is the frontwards leg. In the front, your kneecap is also known as the patella. Your shin bone, the one that you can feel, is the tibia. And in the back is a much smaller bone called the fibula. Your ankle bones are called tarsals. Foot bones are called metatarsals. And the toe bones are called phalanges.